So, you join the sound check, please?
Bill Watson, sound check.
Do we have Veronica Rodriguez or Kristen Spring?
Yes, I'm here.
Kristen's here.
I know they attached it.
Okay, thank you.
People.
Yes, she also bought.
I go.
Okay, we're good to go. All right, we're gonna go ahead and commence the meeting. Call the. Oh, that's it.
Thank you. Okay.
We can make room here.
I'm okay. Okay.
Okay. All right, thanks. We'll call the meeting to order. Thank you all for being so punctual. We can get started right on time. Confirmation of quorum, did we get quorum? All right, great. All right, our agenda is a abbreviated one. We have one closed session item. We have a resolution we're gonna present, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consent, 6 consent items. And it's like 6 informational, so we should be able to get out of here on time. I say should, because we're not always in control of it, but we should be able to get you guys out of here on time on those who had to travel back safely to their families. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and open up for public comment on any items not listed on the agenda at this point.
Hi, this is Jennifer Tracy from the CalSAWS Advocates Group.
Hi, Jennifer.
I'm pulling up my public comment. Thanks, just a second. Okay, so thank you for the opportunity to provide comment. We recently reviewed the release notes from Benefits Cal and noticed that the minimum basic standards of adequate care, the MBSAC, limits for the Benefits Cal Ask Robin, See If I Qualify chatbot were scheduled for production on August 28th, 2025. The ACL regarding these new limits was released on June 10th and went into effect on July 1st. This means that for about 2 months, the chatbot was likely discouraging an unknown number of people from applying for benefits that they may have qualified for. We previously identified that the chatbot was out of compliance for over a year when income criteria were not updated. At that time, we were assured that regular, timely updating of the MBAC would occur. We were discouraged to see that CalSAWS was unable to queue up this change so that the chatbot remained accurate. And we again urge CalSAWS to prioritize timely and accurate implementation of eligibility information for customers so they're not discouraged from applying. Thank you for the efforts to keep Benefits Cal up to date, and we look forward to continued partnership to support these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jen. Yeah, it's really important for us to try to stay in sync, and we'll take that back to the project and take a look at our processes to see what we can do about that going forward. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go ahead and pause our public meeting. We're going to start our closed session and we'll come back and reconvene the meeting thereafter. Thank you, everybody, for. I thought I was waiting for that, and then, of course, right when I was going to say something. All right, thanks everybody for coming back, and we're going to try to expedite the rest of the meeting so that you guys can still get out on time. Reporting out from closed session, there's nothing to report out from the closed session, so we'll go ahead and reconvene this open session, and I believe that we're right into action items.
Yep.
Okay, so the first action item is a resolution. So we have another famous individual from the team retiring. So, and this time I got bigger print. So hopefully I don't fumble as much as I did the last one. And I really messed that one up. I feel terrible. But, so this is for, Tom J. Hartman. So, Tom's, retiring from the project, and, we have our resolution here. So I'm gonna read it out, and I'm not gonna read from there. I'll read from my nice big printed version. Whereas Thomas J. Hartman, Common Services Section Director for the California State Automated Welfare System, CalSAWS Consortium, will retire after 11 years of outstanding and meritorious service to the public, counties of California, CalSAWS, and whereas Thomas J. Hartman began his exceptional career serving the counties of California as an Accenture executive on the C4 Consortium project from 2001 through 2013. And whereas in his continued career of service, Thomas contracted as C4's consortium director in 2014. And whereas with his wealth of knowledge and exceptional qualifications, Thomas was instrumental in the successful transition from C4 to Cal ACES. Remember Cal ACES? For the minute, it was Cal ACES in 2017. And we went through this whole little thing of getting the icons and everything down. Whereas in the beginning of 2017, Thomas was an integral part of the migration planning efforts for CalSoft project, the nation's largest automated welfare and benefits eligibility system. I think we're even bigger now. Whereas in 2019, Thomas forged on with the Cal ACES CalSAWS, serving in the concurrent roles of Cal ACES project director and CalSAWS consortium common services section director. And whereas with his wealth of knowledge and exceptional leadership, Thomas successfully led the CalSAWS procurement team to the completion of multiple successful large procurements, resulting in a continued savings, growth, innovation, CalSAWS on behalf of the public, counties, and the state of California. And whereas Thomas has embodied the highest standards of leadership and skillfully navigated his career journey while providing devoted support to his staff and fostering collaboration among stakeholders to fulfill CalSAW's mission. We are enriched by knowing Thomas, and I call him Tom, and proud to have served with him during the years of service. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the board, do hereby extend to Thomas J. Hartman, Common Services Section Director, our sincere and grateful appreciation for his dedicated service to the public, counties of California, and CalSAWS. Congratulations on his well-earned retirement and best wishes for continued success, happiness, and good health in the years to come. Adopted by CalSAWS board today. Can't say adopted until we do an approval, so we got to actually do a vote and do the motions to, I'll do a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, Marla got the second, so we'll call the vote.
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Yes.
Deborah. They both. Okay. James,
Yes, I approve and congratulations, Mr. Hartman.
Roger,
Yes.
Veronica, are you,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
and Rogelio?
Yes.
Right.
Motion passed. Excellent. So, I've had the privilege of working with Tom for a number of years, and he's a really fun guy. Really fun guy. He's really one of the sweetest men you'll meet, and very intelligent, very sharp, and I feel very privileged to have spent time with him trying to sharpen our knives when we had to negotiate. Those were fun times. Our war rooms that we set up. Yeah, Tom was instrumental and really tried to help us get the best arrangements we could with all of our transitions between Cal ACES and CalSAWS, and he's going to be sorely missed. And I see Tom is on, so I do want to open it up as an opportunity for him if he wants to say a few words.
Yeah, Mike, I was getting a little worried when you were going through that. I haven't been called Thomas that often since I did bad things and my mom said, Thomas. So I'm glad we got it to Tom. And it's been a fun journey from C4 through all of the other changes. And we did end up with a nice statewide automated welfare system, which I'm sure that the state and the feds are pleased with. And thank you for the kind words and the good, nice wishes for the future. And I wish the best for the consortium as you go forward.
Thank you very much, Tom. Godspeed. Okay, so that'll take us into our consent items, and we have 6 of them. So, is it Holly, the traditional person leading us through this? All right.
Yeah, well, I'll try and be quick. Additional details are in the executive summary, so I'll try and be brief, and the materials are posted with the board package. First is meeting minutes from July. There's no new action items, and the ongoing action items are either part of today's agenda or are in process for the next, board meeting. We're working on some updates to our performance reports. I think, Marley, you would ask for some targets to be added, so it's in process. The next item is a privacy and security agreement between CDSS and CalSAWS. This replaces the prior privacy and security agreement, or PSA. It aligns to the DHCS agreement that was approved by the board last year, and continues what we had already had in place. So that's up for board approval as well. Accenture change notice 42 has 2 items in it. Application maintenance hours. This is about further refinement of our hours between Deloitte and Accenture. And we've partially offset those hours with a reduction in a couple of special initiatives that were previously approved by the board as well, that came in less than planned. The change will utilize just about 500,000, offset by the actuals less than planned. And then we also have county purchases related to Fresno purpose-built data set. And so the change notice will utilize 456,000 net of the change allowance, leaving a balance of 22.3 million for future changes. And then for the county purchase, it's approximately 128,000, leaving a balance of 9.2 million for future county purchases. There's no overall change to the total contract value for that one. Gainwell infrastructure change order 2 utilizes just under 500,000 of the 33.5 change allowance for 7 county purchases that will leave a balance of 32.6 million for future work. So we have listed those in the executive summary, but to summarize, we have an extension of Fresno's Gen AI call summarization. There's maintenance that continues. We have a couple of counties with some circuit and local network updates. We have an update for Contra Costa related to a local instance of ServiceNow. And then we have Santa Clara has some maintenance for their purpose-built data set as well, and 2 counties with kiosk refreshes. No change to the total contract value. Next one is Deloitte. We have change order 1. This is for our M&E contract. We have a premise item for CalFresh minimum nutrition benefit pilot program. It's 728,000, so that's covered under premise funding. And that will leave 60.1 million for future changes out of the change allowance. It also has 1 county purchase for San Diego, 123.8 thousand, and out of an original allowance of 20 million. So that leaves 19.8 million for future work. ClearBest, we have additional professional services hours. This is for the as-needed project management support. This is part of our operational advanced planning document, our base project budget. So this just incorporates that and those hours, and that is for 768,000. And out of their original balance was 8.8 million for the change allowance. So we have a remaining balance of 1.8 million for future changes. All of these are no change to total contract values, covered under existing project funding, improved project funding, whether it's project or premise or county funds. That brings us to you, Michael, for questions.
All right. Thank you, Holly. You ended it with the questions I usually have, so you already satisfied those. I'll go ahead and open up to our board members and state partners if there's any further questions or comments. Seeing none in the room, I'm looking for any hands up on the screen. I don't see any. So, any public comment? Okay, hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve the slate?
So moved.
The tie.
Yeah, tie.
All right.
So we got Margot with the motion.
Thank you.
Motion. Cricket,
Roger,
second.
second.
Okay.
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Bill? Okay. Chris?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
Veronica?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Yes.
Rogelio?
Yes.
All right, thank you, guys. All right, so that moves us on to our informational items. And Holly, you thought you got away, but you're right there.
Right here. So I'll try to be quick again, catch up some time. The first slide is just our organization slide. So the next slide is our dashboard. You'll see we're tracking to 388.4 million. For CalSA, 65 million has multiple premise, and our JPA administrative budget, the combined total we're tracking to is 454.2 million. That is based on allocations. Actuals to date are included. We have partial actuals through the September payment month, and then our county costs we have through July. With the start of the new fiscal year, we're assuming 100% utilization. Our next slide is our consortium personnel details, also updated to the new fiscal year. We've updated our FTEs. Those include transition staff. You may be aware we sent out a CIT for, we're recruiting for 2 positions, security operations manager and security analyst. So that recruitment is open right now to fill some of our positions. Next slide is our M&E or system change requests costs. This reflects our base application maintenance costs, our CalHERS interface costs, benefits Cal multiple premise as well. But the next slide is our hours. And so these are and supporting details are in your board package. And these are hours based on service month. If we've paid for the hours in the prior year, however, we've reflected those in the prior year. So that's why you'll see some of the upfront months are blank. That's because they're reflected in prior year. And I think there was a question at the last board meeting about clarification about what are these hours? And so just to clarify that, we put in some footnotes here to help folks understand what these hours entail, but these are the core CalSAWS hours and for benefits Cal. We don't include premise hours here because those are hours that are restricted to the specific scope. So these are our, you hear us talk about our 16,000 hours a month or whatever that allowance is. That is what we reflect here.
These are like the M&E, the main
Or the
modification enhancement.
Yep, the base M&E hours, again, we don't include the premise because those are very specifically, you can get a sense of those progress within the costs themselves. So this just gives you the hours for the core. Next, I'll jump ahead to the next slide. We're at our liquidated damages, our contract credits. We're working there. And then the next slide is our standard approved change notices and work orders, including those that you just approved in the last agenda topic. So standard report out on those. And before I pass it back to Michael, I'll just note we continue to track a funding risk. I shared this, I think, at the last quarterly financial update. We have a funding risk that we are tracking at a high level, high probability, high impact because of the various HR1 and multiple impacts there. Just as an update, we did receive direction from OTSI yesterday to move forward with the updates on the CalFresh funding ratios. I think you all are familiar with that. There was an ACL 2550 that was issued to update the CalFresh funding ratios. Per HR1, it's moving from 50-50 to 25-75. And so the county share of that will move from 15% to 22.5%. So that will have an impact on your county share of costs. My team is working through that, and we'll share updates and new county cost projections in the future meetings.
Not only we're getting hit locally, we're also getting hit inside the project's budget and the way that's
Yes.
shared because we're getting less federal share of the project. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so it's a 50% increase to the CalFresh county share of costs. Now, not everything has CalFresh is just one program with the county share as well as foster care and the GAGR. Those aren't changing. But overall, and this is just high level estimate, initial rough calculations, net as an overall share of the cost, total project budget, including state share and federal share, we're going to move from right around between 4% and 5% to 6%. So that's the total county share. I would say about 6 million increase in the total county share. That would be across 58 counties. And these are very high level numbers. Draft.
Right. But for county budget purposes, are the counties going to be able to get their splits out there so that they can incorporate them into their budget?
My team is, we're working on all of those details now that we have our direction from OTSI and specifically how they want to see that from us. And as they are working through the November budget processes as well, we're going to get those updated, and we're going to get a CIT out to the counties with your revised projections for county share of costs for budget year. So it'll go into effect October 2026.
That's the year on that, October.
2026.
Do you have an estimated date you'll get that out to counties?
I would say give us a couple of weeks, just so we run it through all the reviews.
October 26th, so it's in the 26-27 budget year. Okay.
I think it might be helpful, Mike, if I could jump in here. I think it might be helpful to send a CIT to all counties saying this is coming. I think this is not on counties' radar.
Right.
So just a heads up, this is coming. It's
Okay.
very rough estimate, 6 million total across all counties, just so directors can start sort of socializing it a little bit.
Yeah, a number of us out there have to do multi-year budgeting with our CEOs. So we're certainly going to be impacted because I know it's in the 26-27 budget, but still.
So I just caution you on the number. I need to, finalize. I don't want to go too far out there with numbers that are incorrect, but that's a rough ballpark. So we'll see what we can do to get something out as soon as possible. The ACL did go out to all counties, so, but I know you need real numbers to do your budget planning.
Thank you, Holly. These are times when I'm glad we have a very experienced person
Yeah. agree.
behind
A great
the budget of the
team.
project.
Great team.
Great team and great leader. That
That was it. Just
any other questions or comments from our board members, state partners on our budget presentation? Guess we're all waiting for those numbers to come to the county. Any public comment? All right, then we'll go ahead and move forward. I think the next item is policy and release update. That's still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's Karen and Michelle.
Yep. Michael, this is Michelle. I'm gonna cover this for us today. So gonna do a modified version. So just real quick, what I want to highlight here is that the CalWorks, CalFresh, COLA, the CalWorks IRT, those values were implemented last week. And then tomorrow we're going to be running the CalWorks CalFresh COLA batch EDBC. So that will be available this weekend. I'm going to move to the next slide. From a release perspective, so our 2509 release is on September 22nd. We have our Greenlight meeting next Thursday. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that this is Accenture's last baseline release. So the last big release before we may have some priorities in there before we transition baseline releases to Deloitte. So I just really want to give them a shout out and thank them for the great releases over the past 20 plus years. So thank you very much for that. We can move on. Thanks, Michael. We can move on to the next slide. And this is just these slides, and I won't drain them because they are in the package. But this slide, we are going to be highlighting HR1 items and keeping you apprised of where various SCRs are in the work plan. So we can,
HR1.
yeah, we can, sorry,
So that
Michael.
came up the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'm like, did you have a question, Michael?
Sorry.
So this is just a little intro about, you know, what we knew a few weeks ago. And so I'm not going to drain this slide, but if we could go to the next slide. And here's our little roadmap that we'll keep updated and present at every meeting where some of these SCRs. Now, late breaking, literally while we were on this call, CDSS shared the draft letter for the standard utility allowance change. So we are going to take a look at that letter. We're going to group internally on Monday, and we're going to let CDSS know a timeline. We had initially tentatively said December, but we're going to look to see what we can do. So maybe we can get it sooner, but we'll regroup, and then we'll share with CDSS on Monday when we think we can do this. So this is our timeline we'll be sharing. We do have some Medi-Cal HR1 efforts that have, if you want to go to the next slide, we've been working with DHCS and CWDA on a regular basis, and we have landed some of the Medi-Cal things for HR1, but a lot of them are still in flight to determine what release they'll be in. So definitely more updates to come at the next meeting. I'm not sure, I can't remember if I have another slide. Oh yeah, this is some outreach that we're going to be doing with DHCS for the Medi-Cal changes that are coming January 1st, 2026. I just wanted to highlight here that DHCS, we're going to be doing some refresher training on the property policy, and then CalSAWS will be doing a demonstration of like the CalSAWS pages where you enter policy or the property. And then in December, we're going to look to do with DHCS an overview on the policy for the immigration changes. And then we'll look to do, when we have functionality changes in the system, we'll be able to do another overview with the work group that DHCS has on what the functionality changes are related to the immigration. So lots of outreach coming up for the counties to participate in sessions on those changes. So I think that is another slide. This just highlights some of our testing activities that we have going on for the Medi-Cal changes that are effective in January. These changes are going in a priority release, so it will not fall within our county validation, but we are putting extra testers on this. If the counties want to provide us some testing suggestions to make sure we cover lots and lots of areas here, happy to take those testing suggestions by mid-November. That's all I have, I think, Michael.
That's it.
Okay, well, we have a lot going on.
Yeah.
One of our, just immediately open that up for any questions or comments from our board member state partners and Marla's.
Yeah, thank you. So going back to slide, and I do want to just make a comment here that we can't see the speaker. When we have to, I mean, all we can see is Michael. I'm wondering if we can see the speakers when the speakers are talking. So slide 21. If we can go back there. So in September here at the bottom there, the standard utility allowance subsidy, I know is just kind of the standard one that's going in. That's not the changes from HR1. But I do know that, and I heard you say that, the state put out their draft, ACL on that today while we've been here. I do know that the state is, you know, really, really attentive to that. And, if we don't have that in place when it starts, which my understanding is it's gonna start in October, November, and we might not have it in until December.
That would be before.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just start with a question. Will we be able to have it in before it goes live, or the date?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're shipping to get that up there.
Okay. Okay,
Good, good, good.
okay. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you very much. Because we know that if that's not in place, we have a possibility of having errors. So just so it contributes to the error rate. So appreciate very much getting that moved up. Thank you. And then page 23 or slide 23. I guess the thing that I'm not seeing here, and maybe it's later in the presentation, is I'm not seeing any addressing here the reports that counties need. That's next. Okay.
It's just the policy. It's just
Okay. Okay.
the thing that.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That's all I had, Michael.
Any other directors or state partners have any comments or questions? Any public comment? Okay, all right, moving forward, I believe the next item is CalSite priorities.
Yeah, so just the segue,
Yeah.
you know, on the HR1 related, you know, priorities that we need to, you know, we're acknowledging here, this format is by the request of Marla, by the way, she introduced us to the SBAR format, and so here we're just kind of talking about, the situation is obviously HR1 shifted the priorities of us and the counties in terms of reporting and automation needs. You all are being asked daily by your boards and the state and our stakeholders, you know, to be nimble and responsive to these things. And so we know that we need to address them. We have some data already available in terms of reports, but it's not consistently accessed, and there's still some gaps. We talked about that with, you know, Sacramento and some other counties. So that counties are now at risk, you know, of multiple ad hoc reports, everybody kind of, you know, doing their own thing. And so we want to address that, and that's not equitable. So if you can go to the next slide. That being the case, we do know that we are in the middle of a major vendor transition, so that constrains our flexibility in redirecting technical resources. We were trying to pivot on the BCR process, but we talked to the board. You know, there's a timing issue. We need to redirect pretty quickly and focus on the HR1 requirements. So we really want to be there throughout CalSAW, also the county and our stakeholders in terms of how the priorities are set and what those priorities are. So it's up to the next slide. So here's assessment. Counties urgently need near-term reporting to support in response to the HR1 questions and plans for service impacts. The counties also and the state also need automation tools that reduce the error rates and improve accuracy and ease of compliance risk. We have the expertise, but our technical capacity is constrained. And so we need some direction on it, because right now we continue to get the CRs and answer requests, you know, directly. And so we really don't want to duplicate efforts, and we really want to focus our resources in the areas that make the most impact right now. So it's not whether if, but you know, what existing work must be paused or shifted to make room for these evolving and urgent needs. So we just want to highlight just for you in terms of our bandwidth, right? And what we have that we're focusing on, and the things that we must do and must continue to do that are underway, like right now. These are our infrastructure projects that are underway. Have some migrations, some software replacements, and some upgrades. Those are time constrained, time boxed in, because there's certain things that are sunsetting that we need to make sure that we have, you know, our placement or upgrades in place. And so this is just from an infrastructure perspective, the things that we're focusing right now. Okay, so in terms of priorities, we have here 5 priorities. And so these are the first 2, and this is around reporting and data architecture. So right now, we need reliable, consistent reporting to respond to HR1 demand. The immediate priorities for us right now is we have some existing reports. How can we shift those to accommodate the county's needs? And so we need to kind of do an inventory of that and identify the urgent gaps in HR1 related data. So we want to provide a short-term solution, such as, big dashboards, and context tracks, or interim data sets. The second is, just kind of looking forward, this is going to continue to be if we don't make ourselves more nimble. And right now, the data architecture outside is very somewhat archaic in our ability to kind of shift and pivot and process data in an agile way. And so we want to start the work of building our long-term self-service reporting solution that we highlighted in the South Conference in June, and that we've been talking about with the county, the data lake house, where we'll be able to use tools and AI and different solutions for you to, at your fingertips, pull data and, rather than having to put on for something like that in. Or request and you get months later. So those are the 2. And then in terms of automation, beyond reporting some critical workload and compliance risks that all the counties are kind of, bracing themselves for. You all need support on those to reduce some of the manual processes. There's increased, redeterminations. There's just so much that's coming, and we know that's going to have an impact. We heard how the cost that's going to be falling on the counties, and you're not going to be able to know your down to accommodate these things. So particularly in the CalFresh area, we have some key priorities in the income verification effort. State obviously, being a part of that, and then additional tools to reduce CalFresh error rates. Tools to minimize some of the clerical errors, automated verification and validation steps, system alerts, so some nudges that we can put in there just to, bring the eligibility workers island focus to some, potential things that they need to pay attention to track error trends in real time. And then we know that ABOT, there may be some ABOT adjacent. Those are the 5. So what we are recommending and is that, affirming, from our board, the HR1 reporting and automation as an immediate priority for CalSAWS, and directing us to convene the special work groups to start that work, right away in those above mentioned priorities. And then we want to pause the efforts that are not, there's not a clear nexus to HR1 priorities to ensure that we have the proper bandwidth to make sure that we focus on the things that, like we said, can't move, and then the things that the counties need right away. So we can do some rapid design and development here over the next 6-8 weeks. So how would we go about making it? Again, this is more of a, and wanting, feedback from the board. These are kind of the questions that we, developed in terms of how we would go about looking at the efforts. Is there a policy requirement with implementation by a specific date? Know that those don't move, and there's a lot of scrutiny on how quickly we can implement, policies from their effective date. Because also in certain situations, there's an error, that can increase the error rate. Is there a critical technical project in place? So that's related to the infrastructure ones that we were talking about. We're reversing it with agreements. And then does it directly and positively impact the objectives? Is there a demonstrable likelihood that it will positively impact our CalFresh error rates? Is it necessary and efficient to respond to a federal or state reporting information? Kind of, at least our preliminary questions that we were So what we planned on, doing is that we want to leverage the committee and RM's physical advocacy for these priority work groups and the five that I mentioned, which will sending out CRFI. Shares will be sent, but next week, but again, it's subject to your, I think we already have those. You know, the existing SCR that support HR1 will be prioritized. We have a couple of those, again, subject to your review. And then the project is reviewing for the prioritized SCRs. I think LA County, thank you for, you know, bringing one to our attention. We want to make sure that those are flagged and we put those, you know, on. And so, and then the work group activity, because we are going to be working through some rapid design, you know, efforts, we want to make sure we're allocating county resources to those, you know, those work groups. And so, you know, we want to prioritize those costs so that we can redirect, you know, that brain trust and experts in the counties to resources, you know, for these design work sessions. I'm like Michelle, I don't know. What's actually happening. All right, so these are some of the potential CalFresh SCRs that were already in progress. They may improve the error rate, they may not, but these were already in the, some of our coming releases, again, subject to your review. If you have any questions on those, but those are some that we had sent to the class. That's it? Okay. Okay, oh, no, okay. And then on the benefit count side, what we wanted to communicate is there's some priority items that have emerged on the benefits count side as well, that we need to make some room for. And so we wanted to show on the left, you'll see the things that now, because of HR1, prioritize on the right are the things that we probably need to pause. And we just wanted to be transparent. So everyone's aware of the trade-off that have to happen. Yeah, so I think if, I can pause there, but, you know, kind of going back to our recommendations, and looking for guidance on if this is, the board is okay with this direction or.
Well, I'm glad to see us pivoting and really trying to focus on this. I can't differentiate between these and some other priorities, but we'll have to really dig in with our teams to see if we've got the right one stacked. I'll reach to our other board members, state partners, if they have any comments or input that they can see from some of the ones that were highlighted.
I do have input, Michael, and I think that this is our most important conversation today. And I personally am looking for a conversation with my peers, other JPA members. I'm going to kind of kick off here with my kind of thoughts about this because I think it's so important. And I really welcome online and in the room, you know, other JPA members. So thanks for bringing this, you know, thanks for getting on the agenda today. Really appreciate it. First thing I want to note here is that what we have here on slide 30 is, and what I'm hearing from you, and just want to confirm this, is the BCR process is now on hold while we move through this. And if we're going to come back to the BCR process, that'll come back to the board at some point saying, you know, maybe we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do want to caveat this that a lot of regions, including Region 1, had already done BCRs related to HR1, so they've provided those. Those will probably be used.
So they have work product, yeah.
They do have work products, so those will be used as insights for these.
Throwing away.
So it's they are developed, so we are going to use them and leverage that because the staff has done a fantastic job of putting those together.
Okay. And I want to thank you for saying that because I know my team has communicated with me that a lot of work has gone into the BCRs by the counties. And I do want to recognize all the work of the counties and thank all of our staffs who have put a lot of work into that. And I do think that taking that work that's related to HR1 and sort of bringing that forward is a good idea. Okay. Give me a second here. I think one of the other one of the other sort of overall comments I have is I think it's absolutely the right idea to start with existing BCR, CERs, whatever, SCRs, and bring those forward. But I also want to make sure that we're doing a really good assessment of what's actually needed, not just bringing forward things that are in the pipeline that are kind of related, but maybe not, you know, really head on. So I want to make sure that that's happening. And I want to make sure that as a board, we're getting good reports about that. Look, I do think that putting together some county work groups is a good idea, especially around the data. We have an urgent need today for data. You know, we are getting requests from the media, from our board members about how many people are possibly impacted by these changes. You know, what are the demographics of those people? You know, what can we as a board do? What opportunities do we have to support our community? And then, on slide 35, it says a recommendation here to start, stop, pause. I like that idea too. I think it is right that we're stopping some things, and I really appreciate the way you've put it, you've lined it out here. I don't know, Michael, what we can vote on today. Is this a voting item or was this an informational item?
Yeah, there's two,
So it's an informational item right now, but if you decide there's an aspect of it that you want to vote on, a board member can make a motion for an action item, and then a vote can be.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And then I think the last thing that I'll have to say here is, so I also completely agree that CERs, committee work, other efforts that don't directly align with what we're facing at this point will be paused. And I also request that things that get paused as a board, we are informed, right? Because if we have a directive, which is pause things not related, but then we don't actually know what's getting paused, then there might be things that we might be like, whoa, we didn't realize that was the impact. So we need to know what things are being paused and what the actual impact is, so we can weigh in if we feel like, no, actually that one probably needs to move forward. So I like the framework here. I appreciate that. And I really want to make sure that as a board, we're getting very detailed information and that there's really good participation from our counties on, really specific things that we can be doing in CalSAWS that really specifically support what we're being asked to do now.
And then I have one more item is the data lake house, just really having greater explanation of what's available, when it's available, how counties can be utilizing that, and when they can start utilizing it. Yeah, I'd just like to get under it a little bit more than just the concept.
Yeah, I'd like the proposal to come here. I'd like to see that. And then, sorry, I just want to add that last thing. So this idea about letting us know what has been stopped and what's going, I'd actually like to see a report every month now. These are things that we stopped this month. These are things we added this month, and just have that running thing going so that we're aware kind of what these impacts are and we can jump in if we need to. Because there's so much in flight here as counties. We've got so much going on. I think it's really important that we're very well informed as a board. Appreciate that. Thank you.
So today, during our directors meeting, I think we're facing a $2 billion error rate penalty that the state will absorb, but ultimately the counties will be somewhat responsible for that in other areas. In Nebraska during the pandemic, I was one of the deputy directors over our eligibility teams, and we had the lowest error rate in the country coming out of the pandemic. And we're no longer, Nebraska is no longer on their federal cap for the error rate, but it's because we had a process in place, which I've implemented that in Ventura County, and we're roughly around 3% now. I say all that to say a lot of the tasks that our staff are doing, they're having to track manually because CalSAWS does not have the capacity to do it. And the error prone flag that comes on, there are some discrepancies with that. And sometimes you need to, so one of the major issues is the income verification when there are multiple people in the home, and they're having people pay them for their room or something like that. That creates those flags. It's difficult to just take those out, because if we could just take all of those cases out and review every last one of those cases before they're finalized, that would reduce the error rate significantly across the entire state. But CalSAWS does not allow that. I say all that to say it would be beneficial if because having a background in Lean Six Sigma, if we could process map this, have the subject matter experts that deal with this on a regular basis, meet with the subject matter experts across the state from different regions, and just walk through the process to see how CalSAWS can help in the system to build the infrastructure to be able to catch these errors. Because right now we're doing it, but we're having hit teams like our Cal Works ENT team that's eventually going away. I transition them over into our eligibility team to provide more support on our eligibility staff, catching these errors, provide more QC reviews, provide more QA reviews. So it's timely, and we're catching the reviews up front and then going back if needed to catch those reviews before the QA or QC tools reviews them before it gets locked in. So we can still correct the cases that have already been processed that were error, but it takes a lot of work. So if somehow there could be a process mapping with the CalSAWS team, with subject matter experts to see what this should look like in CalSAWS, I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, Roger, I think that's, we agree, right? I think that's important. I think that's why those are two of the, you know, 5 priorities are related to the CalFresh error rates. And what we have been doing, and, you know, I shared it, you know, before, is looking at the QA data, seeing where the patterns are, seeing where there's you know, like we said, the clerical errors and things like that. And so that's what the intent of that work group
Okay, perfect.
is, like bringing those folks together and getting into, I'm a former BA, the recovering BA, that was my career, you know, the process mapping, the requirements,
Yes,
you know, getting into that granular detail in terms of the flow. We will that's
perfect.
yes.
Are you gonna,
Right, Adam?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, invite the state folks, because some of those things also lead back to policy discussion.
They do,
Right.
yeah.
right? How is the work group gonna be selected and stood up?
Yeah, so that was the CRFI, one's the green. Here, so the RMs will be working with the committees and, the PPOCs to identify, folks. We put out CRFIs.
They've already gone.
Not yet. Next
Okay.
week. That's the.
Next week.
Okay.
On those 5 priority areas.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and so, in the requirements, we're getting really specific. But, you know, this is what we need, this is how you're, you know, we need your support and your contributions. These are what things that are gonna be. They're not going to go for one, you don't have.
Right. Right.
And so, that's what.
With the BCR process paused and it hasn't been fully implemented yet and CER is already on pause. So we can assume that anything that's been put forward through that process, that will be paused at this point, is that right?
Yeah, that's what we were saying, is that the focus being on, we know what these 5 areas are, at least from our perspective, subject to change, but the nexus of those 5 questions, like if these things don't, that's that last bullet, if they don't fall into these categories, then we would be pausing that, we would be communicating it back out to you all.
So there was a quick turnaround on putting forward something that is HR related
Yeah.
through the BCR. Right.
Yeah.
Going forward, however, if counties have, you know, discovered that to have some sort of an item that qualifies, how is that going to be?
Yeah, how's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still submit CERs, we're just not going to have and be prioritizing any of those things. So you still want to.
But if it's related to HR,
One,
yeah.
and it's within these 5
Mhm.
areas, oh, then, yeah, then bring it to the work group, right? Because those work groups, it's not only what's been submitted so far, it's the work group will be identifying, you know, kind of getting into the detail on what the requirements and the needs are. So, yeah, you know, if you're, especially in your region, get on that work group.
Okay.
Right. Does that make sense?
And then are you able to speak at all to the reports that, you know, you've heard from us that how many requests that we're getting and
Yeah.
having to do so many. It's not good information when each county's having to figure out how to pull. Do we have kind of any sort of outline of when we can expect to be able to have those addressed?
That's this group too. So what we'll do is if you all approve, next week, we're doing the CRFIs, we'll do a work group even around just that reporting. That's the priority 1 or 2. And that group will be identifying those gaps and what those reporting needs
Oh, it's
are.
not an action item.
And so, and then we can just start on, you know, working, you know, on that thing. So whether you all, just say, go forward and report back and, you know, we can do that, but we just want the okay to move forward and assemble these groups for these priority areas.
How are these new work groups going to interact with the existing committees? I feel like maybe we have committees that are already existing, like we have a data committee already, right?
Sure.
Why can't it just be the data committee that takes on this HR1 question?
So this isn't a new process. What we do now even is what we pull folks and we do the CRFI and programs can kind of speak to this as well. We still do work groups. Work groups exist now and we usually pull from committees and county staff to create smaller work groups so that we can be agile and do the requirements. This isn't a new, we're not creating a new process for this. This is our standard process. I see that I'm kind of thinking there, their head on that.
Okay.
We do leverage, like, so some people who are in the committees will raise their hand and say, I want to be a part of that. And that's fine too.
And then the committees also should only be working on this. So if there's like just to keep the data one going as an example, if there's a data work group, then I would think that in a week, they have something that they take back to the data committee as a first kind of pass. And I really want to see reports by the time we get back here next month. We cannot wait another month for reports. We need to see reports immediately by next month. So we do have to have committees, we do have to have work groups, like we're big, we have to do that. And also we need to be super nimble at this point, and get some reports out the door for counties.
So Julia, you've said this during the meeting. You need to have us tell you this is okay to be pivoting this way and move this way, because it seems like it's self-evident that we need to do this.
Yeah, it is for us, but when we pause these committees and we say, well, we're not going to work on this, it would be good if we can say, and the JPA that's in alignment with that direction, because that is a shift. Because there's been things that we were kind of, I do agree, but we're just, that's to bring this forward, so we're just. If we're in alignment, or if you have questions, like Marla just said, the reporting back next month and this being a standing item.
I think that's at least a priority level we are. The HR, anything HR1 related, whether we've already created the SCR or we need to create one, that's where our heads need to be.
By next month, I want the SUIS issue taken care of, and it's live and going, and we're in compliance and we're not having errors. And I want reports that counties have access to.
I do want to say on the SUA, we do have the draft ACL until we get the actual, because it's an eligibility change, then we will continue to design and build towards it, but we actually need that final letter for that to actually get put into account. I just want to, I'm not saying we won't, but we are the state.
I understand that process. I know that CDSS is very anxious for us not to have more errors. And I think, either Michael or I, or maybe you, Adam, can just help bridge here so that CDSS knows they need to get it out, right? So I think let's just all work together to make that happen. And then as soon as it's out, we need to get it going. I guess, what you're hearing from me is we're a big, big ship and we move slowly a lot of time, and that makes sense because of, it's a big deal and we need to be thoughtful and careful about what we do on a normal basis. That's how we move. But we need to, I don't know if I'm going to use an analogy here or something, but we need to drop some speedboats into the ocean and get them going.
Yeah, and how far are we? I mean, off of a draft, the SUA is not a complicated one. How far off is the draft from the final? I mean, we need to assess some risk and move. Not just sit and wait. All right. Okay. Any other comments, feedback from our board members, state partners? So we do have conceptual agreement. We need to support the prioritizing HR1 related.
Michael, are you looking for any kind of a motion based off slide 35?
This would be new. I never had to do a motion on something that's not this
Where's our council?
specific. Why can't we just move off of? We have to have a motion on this? Do we know?
Want to give specific direction and vote, then you're okay with the blanket. The project says you're supposed to move forward, then that's
I make a motion to approve that HR one priority, it takes priority over everything else. Anybody second that?
Second.
Okay, call the vote.
Marla,
Yes.
Yes.
Greg? Bill? Bill? You're still with us? Chris?
Yes. I think I figured out. Okay.
James? James, are you still there? Probably not. Roger? Oh. Yeah, Billy, yeah, okay. Veronica? Veronica, are you there? Kristen?
Yes, but I want to make a friendly amendment if possible. I don't know if that's the wording you're supposed to use, by the way. HR one and any state related changes, because it's not just HR one. So
Yes.
Yes,
Of course.
yes, very much, agree. Okay,
We're prioritizing policy.
Rogelio?
Yes.
Oh, there you are, okay. Bill, are you, can you hear us? We got you. All right, I know we're over. The other things were just updates, the transition update, and we.
Needs community comment. Do we need community comment on the item? We should fill them. Public.
We're gonna have to move them now. Oh, you talking about the last one? Yeah, any public comment on basically what we just ratified, approved? Hearing none. So we're gonna push on these other ones.
Do you want? Bill, Griffin,
How-
or do you-
the activity. So that's one. The two big milestones coming.
We were muted, I think. I was told we were muted online. I don't know. We're muted.
yeah, you literally just started talking like a second ago.
Okay. All right, let's start again.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you, Michael.
Okay, so overall transition activities, the setting up plan, well, what I said was the first, the recent milestone which we completed was the 25.9, which is the Accenture release in production. We in parallel took a sample of design items there and we did design, dev and test. So those activities are complete and they are in the final QA review.
Script review is complete. When they execute the tests, we capture evidence of testing, and there were a few findings working through with their team. The 25.9 release.
We can. So as far as the two big upcoming milestones, November first is when the Deloitte does the broad cutover. What that means is the batch operations in production and the level 3 ticket triaging will be Deloitte responsibility. In preparation for that, for the last many days, we've been looking at what's coming in Excel production and try to remediate those in our sandbox environment and make sure that we're ready to go come November 1st. So that activity started a bit slow. Our throughput was not which we expected. It was still ramping up. But in the next few weeks, we expect to keep up with that. We noticed that it's roughly 250 tickets on a weekly basis, and that's our goal to triage. That's where we are. So as you can see from this slide, the transition are almost nearing completion. 97% job share on 90, and then the reverse job rate. Our focus of the last few months has primarily shifted on the getting ready for November 1st and various releases in production. So if you go to the next slide, please. So 25.11 will be the first Deloitte release in production. The design, for the most part, the items which were started at the start of the release is done. We did get some new scope items. Those are right now in flight from a design point of view. In fact, on 25.11, we have started consortium testing. So Michelle, Karen, I don't know if you have any feedback on that front, but that I believe started a few weeks back. I'll keep going. The other thing I want to highlight here is 25.12.21, which is a May revised. When this came up around May timeframe, this was a risk log in terms of can we get this done by December, in terms of policy getting approved, design getting approved, like getting the design and testing done. Where we are is we are well on its way on that release. In fact, last week, the design completion. Design went through CASOF review, it went through DSC's reviews, and finally, on the board, we had like minimal questions. So the design got completed and now focus on dev and testing. As you can see, we have like 5 releases going on in parallel, and all those activities are proceeding per plan. So overall, again, sitting per plan, and we have now less than 8 weeks away to do the product and followed by first release in production.
All right, well, you're in the final stretch, so
We are in
the team can bring it across the goal line. Terrible analogy, but okay. Any other comments, questions from board members, state partners? Public comment. Okay, I do have one thing on the performance trends. There's a couple red there. I just want to focus on those. So if we can speak to that, I believe page 55. 56 right there.
I got it. So June, yeah, I think I had mentioned it a bit ago. It's a security incident notification. So on that particular item, there was nothing that wasn't done in terms of dealing with the security incident. This was a paperwork timing problem. So the security incident was being worked. It was actually being taken care of. It was a notification paperwork timing thing that occurred. So administrative is the actual problem here. And we've dealt with it, as you can see, for July and August. It's been taken care of.
Okay, I had no idea what you just said. So maybe we can follow up after. Okay, and you can send something to explain what paperwork the problem is in that space. What about the brainware processing? I think that's again.
That's Highland. That's me. This is Sarah from Highland. We did have one miss in July for the brainware OCR processing target. This was discovered at the end of the reporting month for the end of July when the average was calculated at 96.74%, when the target should be 97%. So once we saw that number was below the target, we dug into the logs and discovered that a server that we use for benefits cal was stuck in a reboot loop, which caused slower processing of documents for this server. And as we looked at the logs, it was specific to July 1st during most of the business day. Slowness was not reported by users on this day. The server self-corrected to resolve, which is normal, and we looked at the metrics for the rest of the month, and there was not any slowness on any other day other than July 1st. So
Guys have any kind of agents or things that are monitoring to catch that?
well, this is something that had not occurred before, so we have put into place some additional alerts so that we can potentially catch this in the future. So we have a new alert in place to identify when there are potential server issues. And we have additional alerts that we put into place when the OCR processing for Brainware has dipped below those SLA thresholds. And that's looking at every hour. So we're taking a look at that now so that we can potentially resolve those issues before they would have any impact to the users. We also have our Brainware experts that are working with our R&D department to see if there are any other changes that should be made, especially on those high volume days, which, as most of you probably know, July or the first of the month is a very high volume day, which this was. So we're keeping an eye on things and monitoring to figure out what we can do, even though this was a one-time event. We don't want it to occur again.
Thanks for the detailed explanation, Sarah. I just want to really keep an eye on this area because we're going to be looking more towards that on our CalFresh Air solutioning and really trying to, and so it's going to be tapping further into the OCR stuff and we can't have performance hits. So I'm glad you guys have your eye on that. We're gonna probably push you a little bit.
That's fine. Thank you.
All right. We are gonna have to put the other updates on to the next meeting. Well, you have some.
Yeah, so Julia, I just want to, thank you and your team. We're just in a point of a lot of transition. It's a high stressful moment for all of us, and do appreciate how you are really shifting and looking for solutions for us. So I really do appreciate that. We are a team, we work together, counties and CalSTRS. And we, I really have a lot, I have confidence in that. I'm looking forward to next month and seeing all the progress we can make over this month, on behalf of really our customers and making sure that our very vulnerable customers in our communities who are under attack right now, and who are scared, making sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that they have the resources that they need, to be healthy, to be safe, and to be secure. And so I want to thank the whole team. I know that probably everybody's working overtime. There's a lot going on and I just want to, name that, acknowledge that and thank everybody.
Thank you, Martin. And I just want to put a point in that we've identified the issues, we've pointed them out. I want to see what we're doing about them. So I really want to see on progress and what's happening going forward on the things we talked about in here that we want to prioritize and basically put out. Do some doing. So putting that challenge in there. Okay. Our next meeting is Friday, October 17th. Derby Square. It's at 9:30 in the morning. It's not one of these paired up with CWGA. So make it hope to see all of you there. And I'm sorry we did not get out on time today. We'll try to work on that and do better next time. And did I miss something? Public comment.
Final public comment.
I really try to remember that. Okay, I'm circling back. Public comment on these last discussions we went over on the performance areas. All right, hearing none. Thanks for hanging in with us. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Michael.